Live from New York, this is WIUR Radio.
New intro, same guys, same studio. Welcome back to another edition of Ball Knowers here on WIUR Radio, live from New Rochelle. I'm Robbie Basil, Cameron Woolley, Luke Dolan. So happy that you guys can be with us for another edition. And we're approaching the NHL trade deadline. It's tomorrow, and chaos can ensue within the next couple of hours, and really the next 24 hours. We did have a trade already. We'll talk about that in a moment. We have more news with the NFL, of course, with players being cut yesterday as free agency is set to begin with tampering beginning on Monday. And Iona basketball with senior day this week ahead of their trip to Atlantic City beginning next week. And we have new format for you guys, so we'll go over all of that later on in the show. But we begin with the NHL trade deadline as multiple teams continue to collapse or have to sell pieces ahead of the deadline. One of those pieces we thought that would be New Jersey. And that's where we are beginning with today, is with the New Jersey Devils. Unfortunately, with 24 hours to go to the deadline or so, they might have to change directions, Cam, because of the injury to Jack Hughes. Talk to us, one, what you think the situation is with New Jersey, and what do you think a strategy could be with New Jersey going forward?
Okay, well, I just got word of the Dumoulin trade. Like, as I walked in here, it's like, the Devils made a trade. I walked out into the hallway. I pulled out my phone. I was thinking, like, it's probably like Brock Nelson or something, maybe. But turns out it was Brian Dumoulin for a second-round pick and a prospect. I'm not sweating giving up second-round picks because, again, the NHL, I mean, how likely is a second-round pick going to be that good, especially when Tom Fitzgerald would be the one making the pick anyway? So, and the injury to Jack Hughes, that obviously that kills our cup chances. I think there's no chance that the Devils win the Stanley Cup, but I at least want to see them make it to the playoffs. But if they were to win the Stanley Cup, it would be on the back of defense and goaltending. And the way I can rationalize the Dumoulin trade, honestly, is just stacking the deck in the one thing that they are still really, really good at. It's like, even though Siegenthaler is hurt, he could be back for the playoffs. Dumoulin, he's played really well in a third pairing role. I think that's where he'll be, probably with someone like Kovacevic, who has made a couple of bad plays recently, but there's a lot of that going around. So I guess that's the rationale behind it. Like, the Hughes injury kind of threw a wrench in everything, but I guess if you look at it from the perspective of leaning as much into the defense and goaltending as possible, then I don't hate it. I mean, as long as you're winning games, I mean, sure, if they win games in the playoffs, they'll be like 2-1 or 2-0 or something, but at the end of the day, they'd be winning games, and that's kind of what they have to lean into as a strength, because the skill up front has vanished in the last couple years. The 22-23 team was predicated on speed and offense and out hustling everybody. They could skate any team in the league into the ground outside of maybe like Colorado, but they were a team built on speed. And now, for no reason whatsoever, Tom Fitzgerald just completely gutted that whole thing and changed the identity to one that is predicated on grit and sandpaper and intangibles that hockey men just love. And I think that's stupid. I went in the depth on a video that I did on Sports Grid about it, which saved everybody's eardrums around here. But
what game caused that?
Great question. I was going to ask you that because
I guess that was stewing before the Dallas game. That was stewing even when they came back
the trade deadline.
Like when they tied. Like that was like but the thing is, losses like that in general, just like they happen to teams. Like
Right.
it's like I'm not bugging out about that isolated incident because it's just everything that led up to it. Like when I look at teams and sports, I look at the underlying causes of those meltdowns and those moments, and I get mad at those instead of the moment in and of itself. Like I get mad at the front office responsible for building that team. I get mad, well, not in this case, but the coach. It's like I think Sheldon Keefe is far, far from the culprit behind this team's struggles since Christmas. And sure, maybe could you put a little on him? Of course, because maybe the mental makeup of the team, it's been Jack Hughes was healthy for most of that stretch. A lot of the team was healthy for most of that stretch,
Yep.
unless Jonas Siegenthaler was a lot bigger than you think, which he is a very big part of this team. But I don't really know. I mean, it's just they just overhauled the roster. They slowed it down, and I don't really like it. Sure, can it win you games that you'd otherwise lose in the playoffs? Yeah, but you're also losing games that you otherwise would have won if you had more skill and offense. And again, my takeaway from the Dumoulin trade is it shows me that the Devils are actually willing to give up assets. It shows me that they aren't just sitting on their hands and doing nothing, which was the thing that I wanted to happen the least. I wanted them to bring in somebody. But I guess they're fostering an identity of defense and above all else, just chance suppression and just more so like suffocating other teams as opposed to just outrunning them like you did a couple years ago. So that's the rationale that I could take away from it. But overall, the problems have been apparent on this team for months. Even when Jack was healthy and even when Siegenthaler was healthy, there was blatant issues in the forward core. There was a lack of skill. There was a lack of speed that they had a couple years ago. I know I bring that up constantly, but it's true.
Yep.
They had guys they had depth. They had threats outside of a couple players. When Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier aren't on the ice, the Devils are only scoring 1.5 goals per 60 minutes.
That's concerning.
That's not just concerning. That's anemic.
Yeah.
You can't win games like that. You can't have any sort of sustained success with that.
Listen, Stefan Nason can only do so much.
Yeah, and like Stefan Nason, I love Stefan Nason. I think he's been great. He's been a really
And
good
Jesper
fit.
Bratt.
I want him to stick around. Jesper Bratt. Oh, I don't want to hear nothing about Jesper Bratt. I want to hear nothing about a bunch of those guys. The big guns on this team are doing what they are supposed to do. And even Timo Meier, who got power play time in Dallas, and oh my God, he scored a goal. What do you know?
Wow.
What do you know about that? You put a shooter in a shooter's position on the top power play unit, and what do you know? They score goals.
Concept.
So again, everybody who's been criticizing Timo Meier and blaming him for any of this can just shut up. But if you look at the big guys on this team, dude, Jack Hughes, before he got hurt, he was contributing. Nico Hischier,
He's great.
I love Nico Hischier. For forever, I'm going to love Nico Hischier. Jesper Bratt doing his job. Stefan Nason, even though he's not a big gun, but he's kind of become one of them. He's doing his job. Going to the defense, Dougie Hamilton, before he got hurt, until he's doing his job. Luke Hughes, even though you have the Thanasis bit, he's doing his job.
Hughes.
Like
The Ness is huge.
like,
That's
crazy.
crazy.
I mean, compared to his brothers, he's the weak link, but I'm still saying he's a pretty solid defenseman.
Oh, yeah, he is.
But like,
sure.
and Jacob Markstrom and Jacob. Ironically, the Devils have some of the best goaltending in the league.
Yeah.
It goes back to the days when a couple years ago, I remember when Mackenzie Blackwood was like
Really
was
good.
like good for like a year or so, and then the rest of the team was just terrible.
Yeah,
That's how it was, correct?
it's always when the Devils have good goaltending, the rest of the team falls apart. Or Corey Schneider.
Corey
Schneider,
Schneider. That's a shout. Oh my days.
Dude, I can if you want to play a game, I could spend an entire show just ripping names of obscurely okay Devils players from the mid 2010s.
That's crazy.
Now,
but
I could go on and on and on, but like I assume
what's
you have
the
something for me.
real quick, because we still have more to get to in this segment. Real quick, what do you think the Devils do over the next 24 hours? Do you see them buying another player? Do you see them selling a piece or two? What do you see them doing?
I don't see them selling. That is one thing that I don't see them doing. I could see them getting their player. I think at least one forward is coming through, no matter how impactful it is. I think they are gonna lean more into the defense, although I want the forward that they get to be skilled. I mean, obviously, I'm looking at your Islanders. You know, if you think back to a couple of years ago, or not a couple, back COVID.
Yeah.
Travis Zajac and Kyle Palmieri.
What a trade that was.
How about scratch my back? You scratch or
Hey,
scratch your
I
back.
would
You
be
scratch
really
mine.
upset if we
How
took
about
Brock
Brock
Nelson.
Nelson and give us Kyle Palmieri back? I would. But that's the trade I want to see. But Lou Lamoriello, I mean,
He's gonna forget this.
He's going to trade some bottom sixers for no reason.
no, he's
and
going
that's
to trade
about it.
for some bottom sixers. That's what he's going to do.
He just simply won't wake up.
Oh,
Like,
that's a good point. We'll get some
yeah,
more
he
teams
needs
in
to
a
he
minute.
needs to take his naps because he's like 83. And
He's too old to be a GM. Change that now. But we'll swing it over
I'm just
to
I will
Manhattan.
I just will say before, I'm looking at the Devils Puckpedia. The Curtis McDermott deal does not make any sense.
How
still to
much are
this
you
day.
paying this man?
I think
How
it's
much?
like,
What's the
no,
current?
It's 1.15.
like my problem
How bad
with
has he
that,
been?
my
He hasn't been
he's been a plug. He's a plug who's a goon whose only job is to step into the lineup when
Like,
they play the
Sam
Rangers
Car-
and Matt Rempe. No, Matt Rempe is the only reason that Curtis McDermott got given term by the Devils. It's the only reason they traded for him in the first place, and he's the only reason
You
that we
traded for him?
all
Yeah.
because of Matt Rempe. Oh no, this all stems back to Matt Rempe.
Of course.
This all stems back to him because he shattered the psyche of this franchise.
Hey, no,
He shattered it.
it's
You know, that whole overhaul into the identity of grit and physicality.
Thanks,
That
Tom
was
Wilson.
all because of Matt. It's the same exact thing that the Rangers did a few years ago with Tom Wilson. They had a couple of isolated incidents with a couple of bad hits, things that shouldn't have happened. And all of a sudden, they overcompensated for it for a lack of physicality and grit that really didn't exist. And they're overhauling everything because of a couple of things that happened. And it makes me angry because that team was they were poised for cup contention for a while. You could have changed nothing. You could have kept the crew around from also the Michael McLeod thing. Really,
Yeah, that did not help.
Really, no. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that happened with the Michael McLeod thing, and he brought a lot to this team. Like on the ice, he brought a lot. Like if he wasn't an awful person, he would have a lot of the problems on the Devils would have.
Awful is putting it lightly.
really.
but that's
awful
what we
is
could-
putting it lightly, but
Yeah,
we
yes,
do
yes.
have to continue
But yes,
with more trades, and we'll actually get to say hello to Luke, who
Hello.
really hasn't not been able to be featured that much so far today. But the Rangers, they did sell a little bit at the deadline so
As they
far,
should.
trading Ryan Lindgren among
And
others,
Jimmy Vesey.
and Jimmy
Soon
Vesey.
to be Riley Smith. Don't know
Soon,
when gonna
that's what
happen.
you're hoping for.
Well, that's gonna happen.
Do
They've
you
held
lo-
him out for that reason?
I mean, there you go. I mean, do you like what the Rangers have done at the deadline so far? I mean, we know the recent rumors with Chris Kreider that he might leave at the end of the year. He might
Maybe.
be traded now.
I don't think he's getting traded now. No one has the appetite or the cap space to take on that contract. Or
Um,
they don't have the appetite to want that contract.
Right. How much is he? He's getting away with
Six and a half for
six
like
and-
the next like
The only team I could
2 more
see,
years of it.
the only team I know that can afford that right now is Florida, because
And
they.
they just got Vanacek too yesterday.
Yeah, that's right.
Wait, who got Vitek Vanacek?
The
Florida.
Panthers.
Really?
because they traded away Spencer Knight for Seth Jones.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Seth Jones got
Jones
traded.
in it.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that trade was. Let me just find it. By the way, that's not the only Florida team to go out and go
oh
crazy.
yeah. Speaking of which, the Tampa Bay Lightning made their team a lot more formidable.
They traded two for. So this is what this
Dude,
is where I
that's,
stay out of my. This is where I'm out of my element because trading 2 first-round picks for a guy who doesn't have
It's
20
a C.
points.
Oh yeah, it's a C price. It's a very
He
safe
doesn't even have
price.
20. Yanni Gord
But
doesn't have 20 points on the Kraken.
But you know what Yanni Gord is? He is a winning hockey player.
That's true.
That guy's
dude-
a winner.
That dude's a winner. And he's playing Tampa
He's
before.
a dog. He was part of those cup teams.
Yeah, he's a dog.
I mean, dude, and Oliver Bjorkstrand, I could tell you,
Yeah.
dude,
Oliver
he
Bjorkstrand is
Oliver
the best player somehow in
Bjorkstrand
this.
murdered my team
Yeah.
for years, and now
Yes.
he's back in my conference.
Have fun.
Which, yeah,
Like,
I'm gonna
that
have a
easily
lot of
makes
fun with that.
That absolutely makes their team a lot more formidable.
But
Oh,
two
yeah,
first-round picks
dude,
for that?
Tampa,
so they already got their core locked up.
True. That is-
dude,
Why not?
I'm
What good are those picks?
Isn't
gonna
their
do for
core
you?
kind of old now? Oh wait, no, I forgot.
That's why they got rid of Steven Stamkos.
yeah, they have
And
Gensel. That's
and
They got-
Sergachev and whatever.
Sergeyev's gone. Hedman's still there.
I mean,
But, like
Hedman-
their top line is Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, and Jake Gensel. Those guys
That's
are all
still
locked up.
ridiculous. Yeah, no, for sure.
They have their guys.
all reasonably young too.
Yeah.
At this
How
point,
old's Hedman?
Wait, how old is Kucherov now?
I will check.
I thought
I think Kucherov's getting a lot. I still think of Kucherov
think
as
he's-
like 26 years old.
He's not that.
But like
young.
he is. I think
He's
he's 30.
31.
Oh, pff,
Jeez. Okay. Never mind.
With
I mean, 31. I mean, hey, dude. Russian machine never breaks.
nope. Unless it's for All-Star games.
true.
Yeah,
True.
And
Russia-
and skills
Good
competition.
point.
Russian machine never breaks.
So
I mean, hey, dude, we've seen a lot of these.
Oh yeah, they also have Brandon Hagel locked up too.
that's right.
They have a
Oh
lot of guys
yeah,
locked
dude,
up.
Brandon. Hagel.
Isn't Brandon? How long is that contract
They,
for?
they just signed.
I know. That's why I'm asking how long it's
It
for.
expires in 2032.
Oh Jesus, 7-year contract, baby.
At $6.5 million.
What?
He's been having a baller season this year.
I
No,
know, but-
Brandon Hagel's really good.
I know, but I was not imagining him making the
It-
same amount of money as Chris Kreider.
He's a perfect fit.
That is
over there
true.
in Tampa,
I
dude. He's
know,
like-
He's also-
100%.
He's also 26.
Yeah, he's young.
He's 26. Okay, so
Yeah.
I thought the
I mean,
ages
yeah.
of him and Kucherov were swapped. I thought Hagel was much older than that.
That's what I mean. They got all their pieces like basically locked up. Why on earth do you need first round picks for if you know you can make buying high on talent? You can buy
True.
high on talent in that case.
In a very loaded Eastern, especially in the division they're in, that a division that
Yeah.
could be very loaded in a couple of years. If people can develop, I'm looking at you, Detroit. Please develop.
and
people.
Ottawa.
Ottawa's gonna fail eventually,
I
though.
mean,
Like,
It's
Brady
Ottawa.
Kachuk. I mean,
Hey,
Brady
Brady
Kachuk
Tkachuk,
has
yeah.
been in
Anyways.
trade rumors for the last like 3 years.
But
so.
please don't
but
trade me to
anyways-
Florida.
but anyways, back to the Rangers,
Yes.
who have been conservative selling, basically getting rid of any pending UFAs as of right now, except for Jonathan Quick, which I'm fine with them keeping.
Yeah,
But ever since, like, they've kind of been riding the ship a bit by playing their younger players. Who would have thought that
Yeah,
the
who'd have
people
thought
the people who actually will care are making the Rangers better? Who could have thought this? The players who have some
Listen.
reason to care.
It's kind of unexpected, but real quick, we're going to take a break here on WIUR. When
We'll
we
come back to-
return,
we'll come back
more
to the
NHL
Rangers.
trade talk and some NFL free agency as it's set to begin on Monday.
I
We'll
gotta
be,
finish up with the Rangers too.
we'll be
We'll
right
come
back in a moment.
This is WIUR Radio.
Hi, this is Anthony Carlo, TV news reporter in New York City and proud alum. If you're looking for a career in media, Iona is the place to be. From internships to real-world experience, Iona's media program is unprecedented. Take it from an industry professional who made it in the biz.
Now back to WIUR, Iona University Radio.
Welcome back to Total Chaos. I'm Robbie Basil, your host of Ball Knowers, alongside Cam Woolley and Luke Dolan. And before we get back to Luke's point about the New York Rangers, more WIUR broadcasting to come this Saturday as Iona face Sacred Heart men's basketball on Senior Day. Coverage beginning at 3:50 on WIUR Mixler, not the YouTube, the Mixler. Make sure to check it out. Colin McGee and Chris Gambino will be making their duo debut this weekend, which is very exciting. They were supposed to be last week, but due to technical issues, we could not broadcast last week, which apologies for that. That one's on me. But let's go back to the Rangers real quick because I know you had a point to finish on them. They still
Right.
have more they can do.
They still have more they can do.
What do you see them doing next?
Well, aside from trading Riley Smith, I'm kind of curious to see if they maybe flip Calvin DeHaan. Maybe
Didn't they
instead-
just get him though?
Yeah, he's a pending
Fair
UFA.
enough.
He's been good the 3 games here, and that's maybe all we need of him. Because recently they've had a discovery, the Rangers, that isn't really a discovery that they already knew, but they didn't just refuse to. They plugged their ears in. Zach Jones is a good hockey player, believe it or not. Even though he's small, he can actually do something that the Rangers could not do against the Florida Panthers in the Eastern Conference Finals and make a breakout pass from the own zone. So for some reason they decide, oh, he can't do anything. We can't use him properly. And now they're using him because they have spots because Adam Fox is injured with what I can assume is probably a shoulder injury.
I know a thing or two about shoulder
Yeah.
injuries in hockey.
Yep. You got one on your team. And it's leading
Every
him to,
year.
it's leading him to getting more opportunity, which is great. Though he could also be on the move. Though at the same time, I rationally think if someone actually wanted Zach Jones, he would have been on the team already.
Oh yeah,
But so maybe he might not. He might stick around. But I'm just thinking, like, I'm like against them buying. They shouldn't buy. They're in no position to, like, or at least buying rentals. If you want to trade for people with term, maybe I'll consider
it's
it.
like JT Miller.
Like JT Miller.
Yeah.
Or-
He's been fixed your
he's
team.
been a fixed.
He's fixed a lot. Mika Zibanejad was in quicksand. All of a sudden, you throw
Yep.
JT Miller up there, and
It's
what's he
March.
like?
It is March now.
Oh, is Mika? Yeah, that's right. Mika March.
Just
That
would've-
whole
just-
bit.
Just would have wished he could have done this a lot sooner.
I mean, yeah, of course, you wish you could do it a lot sooner, but like with the Rangers, like you're right, it's a really weird place because they've been playing really well lately. I think
They are.
I know that as of like a couple nights ago, they had the tiebreaker for the second wild card.
Yes.
So it's really weird. They're in a playoff race. They have a
Yeah.
roster where, like, the point that their roster is at, they're at a point where you look at it on like at face value and you say, yeah, you should buy. You should give up some assets to get players who can help your team win in the playoffs. But the other thing is, like, this Ranger team has had runs of a couple weeks where they looked where they looked like they were back. Where
Yeah.
it looked like they were gonna right the ship and they looked like they were gonna ride this thing. But then
And then you lose 8-2 to Buffalo.
and then they have a
How
few
much did
back
they lose
games.
to Buffalo?
8-2.
I mean, like yep.
And then,
yep.
and then the other thing is, like, the people who are so back on them, I just don't understand them, because this is the same team that only 2 months ago went on sabbatical on the ice. We're basically like, our feelings are hurt.
okay.
Our feelings are so hurt. Our feelings are so hurt with trades. How could you do this to us, Chris Drury? We're just gonna quit even harder now. We just gave up. We just gave up on the season.
And this is why I host this, so these two can go at it with the hockey stuff.
Like,
This is
people
why I
for-
host, ladies and
People
gentlemen.
forget that this team just flat out quit on them, and they're now waiting to welcome them back. How are you so? I don't understand. This is the same again, and now they're trying to convince me that they're actually going to try now. I mean, yeah, they have a lot more players of younger players that are in the care, so yeah, by default they should. But like, because Zibanejad, it's like he's playing better, but I'm like, he's a slow starter, and if he had played better, we would be in a much better position. If Vincent Trocheck played better, we'd been in a much better position. If Chris Kreider wasn't hurt, we would be in a much better position. A lot of guys of the core plates, and if Artemi Panarin didn't sleepwalk his way through the point totals he has this year, as well. If we had JT Miller earlier,
I mean, but the important thing is you got JT Miller at a point in time where you could right the ship. And I'll give Chris Drury this, even though you have your very valid
I've kind of come around Chris Drury a bit.
criticisms on Chris Drury, but he noticed that there were issues. He noticed that whatever was happening was not working. And sometimes, especially in hockey, you just need to make moves for the sake of making moves. Like, but you saw JT Miller was right there. And you're just like, you know what? Yeah,
He
yeah.
should have
we're
made those moves sooner, but I digress.
I mean, but again, when you make a move in January, it's And when it's a wild card race, it's early enough. It's proactive, especially when you look at other teams in your division. Like look at the Devils. They didn't add anybody until literally like an hour ago.
Right.
And even
that's
then,
why- that's
it was just beefing up a position that they need close to nothing on.
That's why I think they could benefit from flipping Calvin DeHaan because defensive prices are high usually around this
It's
time.
a seller's market.
It is a
that
seller's
Bjorkstrand,
market.
that Bjorkstrand and Gord trade. That
I mean, there's also just
screwed up-
Tampa too.
I mean, that screwed up everything. Everybody thinks they're gonna get like first rounders for middle sixers, which
Yeah.
although depending on the first round pick, you can give up a first for a
Yeah.
middle sixer. But again, dude, my not talking about my team. We're talking about your
Yeah.
team. But like, I'll give it to Chris Jury. Like, it wasn't working with the guys that were on the ice at the moment. And then, even though it was a move that, even though it should have been the lineup opening night, he noticed that there were problems. And yes, he kind of screwed up the whole locker room. And although it's on the players for quitting,
Yeah.
you are absolutely right. It is squarely
It's
on the players. It is squarely on the players, and the players have to play better. That's the bottom line in any sport. But he at least he pressed a bunch of random buttons and it's working. And that's all you need to do in this
Yep.
sport. Just press random buttons.
Yeah.
Shuffle things around, dude. This sport's a weird game.
You
It
tell
is.
him. You don't have to tell me.
It's why we play the games.
Weird game.
It's why we play the games. And also speaking of playing games, this weekend the Rangers play back to back against Ottawa and Columbus.
Jeez.
Ooh,
That is-
A back-to-back?
A back to back on this weekend
Wow.
That should be
that
fun.
is-
against the two
yep.
teams in the two wildcard spots.
Ottawa in a wild card spot just doesn't sound right. I'll be honest.
That's your season right there.
Yeah,
It could be.
I mean,
their
that's
season.
those are playoff games.
there's 4 points up for grabs for the Rangers right there.
Indeed.
If you win those
They're
two
1
games,
point. They are tied with Ottawa and they are 1 point behind Columbus.
They have all to play for both of these teams, but with 24 hours to go to the deadline or so, who do we see, if any, other big name to be traded? Do we see a Mikko Rantanen? Do we see a Bowen Byram from Buffalo?
That's a guy who I would like the Rangers to trade for.
Do we
if they
see
do buy?
Do we see a piece like that getting dealt at this deadline still, or do we think all the biggest piece to be traded this year is unfortunately to be either Yanni Gord or Seth Jones?
I think
Disrespect to Riley Smith there.
The biggest
don't-
piece would be Seth Jones still.
to be honest, if I could jump in,
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna see any of the big pieces get moved. I don't think we're gonna. I think Brock Nelson's staying put. I think Mikko Rantanen's definitely staying put. No matter how much, no matter how much Carolina doesn't want to get into an Jake Gensel situation, this is their best chance. Carolina, this is the best they've looked. This is the best form they've been in. Jacob Slavin. You just had to watch the Four Nations to know the form that guy's in. But I think Carolina's in the best place that they've been in a while. They're going for broke every year. Mikko Rantanen staying. The Islanders, Lou Lamoriello's never going to sell, so you can forget that.
Or even wake up.
So Brock
True.
Nelson and Kyle Palmieri are probably staying.
He gave a tearful interview.
I could see the pieces I see being moved are someone like Ryan Donato. I could see Ryan.
Good
that's definitely
shout.
moving.
It's like it's like Ryan Donato. I think could be moved. Ryan O'Reilly,
Potentially.
maybe. Although again,
How much is he making in Nashville or wherever he is?
it's a price I'm willing to pay, dude.
Where is
Also,
he?
also, did you see the trade that the Nashville Predators and Penguins made last night?
What was it for?
I think with
again?
Michael Bunting. I know it was Michael Bunting.
Michael Bunting's going to Nashville went to Nashville for Tommy Novak and Luke Shen.
What?
Very quick.
I didn't know that Luke Shen was still in the league. I'm being for real, bro. That guy's been in there forever.
Michael Bunting was
Yeah.
traded with a 4th round pick for Luke Shen and whoever else.
and Tommy Novak.
and Tommy Novak.
Luke Shen.
That seems
just-
like a pointless
to me,
trade.
To me, Luke Shen just screams like future union executive. Like I think no, he's gonna end up. He's gonna no, because it's the guys who just stick around for a while.
I know. He's played 1,000 games.
Yeah, dude, Luke Shen. I'm not saying anything bad about Luke
Yeah.
Shen. I'm just saying,
But
hey,
it's just-
hey,
I
a
don't-
defenseman who
it's
just
such a
exists,
weird-
you can make a career out of that.
It's such a weird trade too, because I don't know what Nashville's doing. I don't know what Pittsburgh's doing buying. Essentially, I know both those guys have a term, but
we
like
have made this salient point a million times. NHL GMs are the dumbest people on
but
earth.
they think they are the smartest.
Yes. And that's what makes them dumb.
Yes.
NHL front offices are like, it is the one sport, in
Michael
any
Bunny's
sport,
on IR? Michael Bunny's on IR. What did they trade him for?
In any sport, you're going to see fans who claim that they can do a better job than their executives.
Oh yeah, we see that all the time.
The NHL is the only sport where I think you could take the median fan, put him in the big C,
I mean, you know my vins up on Chuck Fletcher.
and you do a better job.
Oh yeah.
No, the regular fan, no. Luke, you could do a better job than Chuck Fletcher.
I say that verbatim all the time.
No,
He's the
you
reason
could
why
do-
I think I could
No,
actually
you
succeed.
would be an exponentially better GM than Chuck,
Chuck
Fletcher,
Fletcher.
but you're not part of the boys club,
I'm
so
not.
you got
There's 32 spots and there's
True.
45 guys up for every year.
There it is. It's the
and it's
same
the same
people.
guy. It's the
same. It's
recycled.
the same 45 guys.
It's the recycled meat grinder for our
Exactly.
entire lives. We say-
Yes.
It's the same with coaching.
I haven't seen
Also
any.
true.
I haven't seen any like rookie coaches.
Stefan Carpe, but I think he had some like other.
Wasn't the
connections, too.
Edmonton guy a rookie coach?
Oh yeah,
Chuck
Chris Knob.
Knobloch. Or
Chris
Chris
Knobloch.
Knobloch.
Chris
I-
Knobloch?
Chuck, not Chuck Knobloch.
Chuck Knobloch.
Chuck Knobloch. Oh my God, no. That's
But that
complete-
counts, right?
That's
I
a
guess.
completely
Well, I mean,
different sport.
he had experience with being interim coach in Spurs for the Rangers, who I think they should have hired Chris Knobloch. They should have hired him.
Well,
The Rangers should have hired him.
Oh, dude, Chris Knobloch is.
I would have. That's
I mean,
like
Peter Laviolette isn't like a bad coach.
He's not,
but
but
he has a really
I
short
think he
shelf
might
life.
be. I mean, I think he might be gone after the season. That's very possible.
If the Rangers make the playoffs, well, first of all, I think the Rangers are like a wild card too. Like if I'm the top seed, if I'm the Washington Capitals, the last team I want to play in the first round is the Rangers.
The Capitals will clamp down on them, and the Rangers do not know how to play against a team that will clamp down on them.
What if
Dude,
Washington
dude,
just
it's not-
outscore you
I
though?
don't know what happens with the Rangers in the first two rounds of the playoffs. That team they are a team of destiny for the first two
You're
rounds.
saying this as if you're ignoring what happened in 2023.
well, that
Facts.
team.
But you love to bring up. every
Let's
once
be
in a
real.
while.
That Ranger team was not. They
Oh,
didn't have. it.
Wow.
That's also, dude. That team was a buzzsaw. I talked about how good that Devils team was. Dude, I don't think
Oh, but the Rangers though.
So
that
much more.
Devils team. That Devils team on no goaltending won 52 games.
That is concerning.
That team was freakishly talented.
Concerning as a whole, but
But again, like that Ranger team that year was just a bunch of patchwork veterans. They didn't really work. Gerard Gallant was their coach.
that's true.
I'd rather forget that.
I
Yeah,
know
Gerard
you. I
Gallant
know
was
you'd
their
rather
coach.
forget that.
That dude did nothing.
But like that. But again, like you could say that Ranger team that wasn't really anything special.
But
they got the players for it to be special.
they did, and then they
But
collapsed to
again,
New
that was
Jersey.
that was just an amalgamation of talent.
Players.
That was just an amalgamation of players. That was not a team.
True.
They didn't really have much of an identity.
And then we got Matt Rempe, who's been pretty good this year.
I mean, yeah, Matt
How many
Rempe-
goals does he have?
I mean, more than Elias Pettersson recently.
Oh, I know. Does he have more goals than the guy Tampa traded 2 first-round picks for?
Probably not.
Either of them?
Probably
No,
not.
I mean,
Does he have
haven't
more
heard
than
of-
6? Does
like,
he have
I
more than
haven't-
6?
I haven't heard much about Matt Rempe. The
I'll look
only
at this up.
time I see Matt Rempe is like the occasional hit on my timeline.
Yeah.
He's been playing. In fact, he's been a pretty good.
Does he
forward.
have more than 6 goals?
Why is that unavailable? Hockey TV. Come on, man. Hold
The
on.
question right now we're having before we go to the NFL: does Matt Rempe have more than 6 goals? Which means he could be traded with somebody else for 2 first-round
He
picks.
has in 27 games he has 4 points, but he's a plus 6.
Why are you guessing? Okay, +6.
He's a plus
As-
6.
as-
Yeah,
as a
plus
fourth liner.
6. Yeah,
Dude,
there you
okay,
go.
the thing
Plus
about-
6.
The thing about Matt
I mean,
Rempe,
okay, plus minus.
but no, but
I am not
listen,
going to catch myself
listen.
putting stock in plus minus. But again,
Listen,
like Matt Rempe.
Okay, can I just say? Can I just speak? He's been an effective forward checker, which all you really need from your forward line is to be like a forward checker and someone who will hit people. And for the longest time, I've asked Ranger players who are just giant to be giant. Matt Rempe plays like he's actually 6'7" and 6'8", or no, 6'9" actually. He plays like he's that height,
He's
which is
gotta,
something like not to pick on him specifically.
he's got to learn to keep the elbow tucked, though. Like he's got to learn.
I know
I'm
you
tired
wanna
of
say
being. I'm
that.
tired.
He's got to
I'm
learn
tired.
how to hit properly.
I'm
though.
tired of being the Smurfs.
The Smurfs is crazy.
But you know, for the longest time, like a perfect example. As much as I love him, Brian Boyle did not play like he was 6'7" when he was a Ranger.
I will say, yeah, when he was a Devil, he didn't really play.
He did not play like he was 6'7".
Although-
Matt Rempe plays
the-
like he's 6'9". Actually
although-
plays like he's 6'9".
Although Devil's Brian Boyle, there was the whole like cancer thing. And
I know.
There was the whole.
Listen, I love
Like,
Brian Boyle.
I love Brian Boyle. Dog, you'll.
He
Brian
scored 20
Boyle,
goals for the Rangers one year.
really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Brian-
Fair play to him. 20 goals
Yeah, let me just check. He scored 20
for
goals.
Boyle. Fair play to him.
He had a
He scored 20 goals in 2011.
he had a hat
20
trick.
That was in 2011.
he
Yeah.
had a hat trick for the Devils
Yeah.
one year in Pittsburgh on their Hockey Fights Cancer night.
Yep.
Every single time where Brian Boyle would play in one of those cancer nights, he would always
He's the
score a
reverse
goal.
Nick Castellanos.
He would always score a
reverse
goal.
Nick
Or, well, yeah.
Castellanos. We still have to do
Anyways.
season predictions for this show. Comment below if you want to see that. We should do them eventually,
We
but
should. But yeah, as terms of what I think will happen, I really think Miko Randon might get traded because I don't know why I just don't know why the Hurricanes would trade that much to get him just to have him not sign.
so here's my question to that then.
I did read that if Miko Random were to be on the market, the Devils would.
As they probably
Be-
should be.
I mean, they would be in the if they trade for Miko Random, that would
Yeah,
It's
just-
really
especially
ignite them.
especially with the cap going up. They can afford a Miko Random.
How much is the cap going up?
by like
this year?
7 million.
A
next year.
lot by 7 million this
Seven's
year, and then
Years at like
Yeah, no, I know afterwards
It's gonna
probably
go
gonna
up
go
pretty
crazy.
quickly,
it's gonna go up like one whole star forward slot.
Nice.
which is why I hope the Rangers sign all their RFAs that they want to sign to like
Nothing.
kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, reasonable deals.
I don't like
Keandre
giving-
Miller, we're looking at you, sir.
Yeah, he could get extended.
For how much though?
Good question. I don't know.
Well, we'll
The
have to
Keandre
wait.
Miller, I don't know what I don't know
He's-
how Ranger fans feel about Keandre.
It's
like
any given
night.
night.
It's like one night he is this young defenseman who's going to be a core piece.
He's
He's,
a
going
great
to be a Ranger
skater.
for life. And
The
then
next
the
he'll
next
make a
night,
gassy turnover.
and then the next night he
He'll
is
make a-
awful and he's getting traded tomorrow. Like
Yes.
that's
And
I don't know what to make of
it
him.
depends on who you talk to.
It's a very interesting discussion to have. And we have more discussions to have after this short break, which make sure to save the date. The Women's Her Story dinner, March 7th in the Burke Lounge at 5 p.m., hosted by the Council of Academic and Special Interest Clubs. Come see the keynote speaker, the mayor of New Rochelle, Yadira Ramos Herbert. Free food and drink will be provided. Business casual attire recommended. Follow Iona Academic Clubs on Instagram for more information. And quick shout out, congrats to Brian Ferreira for winning the show of the week. Catch the One and Done radio show Tuesday at 5 p.m. First show of the week of the new semester. Stay with us. We'll be right back on WIUR Radio.
This is WIUR Radio.
Hi, this is Anthony Carlo, TV news reporter in New York City and proud alum. If you're looking for a career in media, Iona is the place to be. From internships to real-world experience, Iona's media program is unprecedented. Take it from an industry professional who made it in the biz.
Now back to WIUR, Iona University Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ball Knowers on WIUR. I'm Robbie Bays alongside Cam Woolley. Luke Dolan, as always, here on a gorgeous Thursday here in New Rochelle.
Beautiful weather.
It's starting to turn. The heat's starting to turn up a little bit, just
Yeah.
like NFL free agency is starting to turn up the heat as well, as it begins on Monday with legal tampering beginning in just a couple of days. But when this time of year comes, we know there are the cap casualties. And right now, before we go into some of the big names that either retired or got cut this week, let's go over some of the names that people actually care about. We begin with the New York Jets, who now have the biggest dead cap in NFL history, or one of the biggest dead caps in NFL history, cutting Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers. You're getting muted for that. To continue,
He got thrown in timeout.
to continue,
He's turning red. He's turning
He's
red.
turning red.
They traded a 3rd-round pick just to cut
Yes.
Devontae Adams.
Notable other players. We did have Sam
you-
Hubbard
what-
retire yesterday, which
Oh.
sucked. He was good, but maybe they're actually finding a way to save money in order to extend the 3 players they should be extending. To continue the line of misery, there's a couple other players that got cut. A couple Eagles got cut this week. Notably, James Bradbury got cut again, along with another guy who got cut for the 2nd time, Darius Slay,
He'll soon be back.
who might be back. Final notable cuts include Gardner Minshew, which I don't know what Vegas is doing. But the one you wanted to talk about, other than the one I wanted to talk about, which I feel terrible for Tyler Lockett. They really did him dirty. We'll talk about Tyler Lockett in a second and what the Jets and Giants can do. But the one that caught your eye, Cam, was Joey Bosa, a guy who has not been able to stay healthy for a full season in the 2020s. How significant is this from the Los Angeles Chargers cutting a guy who we thought a couple of years ago would be an all-pro edge rusher for a Chargers team needing a jolt?
Oh, that was smooth.
Boo,
No, okay.
boo.
I don't think
That
that
wasn't
was a
on
boo.
purpose.
I
That
don't
was
think
not
that was a
on
boo.
purpose.
That was okay. That
Hold
was
up, hold
okay.
up, we got
I
it.
think that was fine.
Yeah, that was or rather, thank you.
But yeah, Joey Bosa. That was just the name I was shocked to hear
That's
get cut. I think when you have an edge rusher who you think is a cornerstone on your defense, I think you kind of keep those guys around. But again, the Chargers, they're the Chargers, so no, it's kind of in their nature to.
They did save significant cap though.
Yeah,
on
they
him.
did save a lot of money, but again, Joey Bosa's don't grow on trees.
That was the last tie to San Diego.
Yeah,
Except for the
Wow.
one. Except for
for
that
the
one. You know the one.
I do know the one, but to continue with
Dean.
the Chargers, they're in a very weird spot because they can go out and buy if they want to. They can trade for people because now they have some form of cap space. By the way, I just want to bring this up. The Jets traded for multiple receivers for them to, or rather, essentially, the Chargers cut Mike Williams, and the Jets got Mike Williams, and then he was let go midway through the season. They traded him to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So essentially, the Jets went for 2 receivers that are now not on the team. Just got to bring that up because we're speaking of the Chargers. By the way, they're trading Alan Lazard. Pain. But back to the Chargers as a whole. They're in a weird spot.
They're trading everyone that Aaron Rodgers got in there.
They're trading everything that moves. Next up, find out on the next episode of the Jets being idiots when the Jets find a way
Oh,
to.
that's a long ongoing
That's a
series,
long-
man.
No,
That's a soap
that-
opera.
that's-
find out next.
That's One Piece.
Find out next time when the Jets
You're
trade
fi-
Garrett Wilson
over-
to the Denver
Dude,
Broncos.
that's a longer series than One Piece.
Yes.
Let's stick with the Chargers though, because they're in a weird spot. They could go out and do a lot. Do you think they're a team that can go out and maybe find a way to trade for a
I mean,
receiver? I know they're
I
linked
think-
possibly with Chris Godwin.
The Chargers?
They could be
I
possible.
think- I
They're
think
linked to
they
multiple
could-
receivers.
I think a Chris Godwin could be pretty good for them. Have a outside threat to complement Lad McConkey.
And Quentin Johnston, whatever. They're in a weird spot, right? Because
I mean, it's
I
weird.
thought the perfect fit for them.
DK Metcalf.
No, though DK Metcalf could be traded.
Oh.
We're talking about Seattle right after the Chargers because both of those teams are in an app are a little bit of a mess. I thought a piece that could work well for them if they want to go flashy. Is Stephon Diggs extended with the Texans?
No, he's available.
He is going to probably be I feel like he's a Charger. That's such a Stephon Diggs move.
Yeah, or it's a Charger move to make.
Yeah.
Just not go and get the really, really good piece that's available in his prime. You got to go out and get
Stephon Diggs.
You got to go out and get Stephon Diggs.
Though what I like about this free agency, I got to mention this, are the types of players and the lack of quality in like some positions. But then you go to the secondary and you have a former All-Pro corner, DJ Reed, who is not coming back to the Jets. More suffering ensues. And Javon Holland from the Dolphins, who is like arguably the best safety that no one talks about. Javon Holland, like that's phenomenal. We did have I don't want to talk about the Eagles, but they did sign Saquon Barkley to the biggest running back contract ever.
And they got
Shout out the Philadelphia Eagles, and they extended Josh Sweat. Good for them.
and Bond.
And Bond.
Yeah.
Concern. No, they extended Bond. They're trying to extend Sweat. That's what it was. Thank you. But yeah, there's a lot of free agents that people will be looking out for. We did see multiple trades, mainly featuring the Niners for some reason, trading Debo to Washington. I know you want to talk about this, but before we go to the trade market,
I want to talk about a different trade.
Oh, we have a different trade.
I want to talk about a different one.
Let's go send it to us.
What on earth are the Kansas City Chiefs thinking sending Joe Thuney away for a 4th round pick next year after they saw their franchise quarterback get murked in the Super Bowl?
Cap space. They're going to go for they have to go for a receiver. And he's also kind of old, so like and there's like some decent linemen in the draft.
He's an all-pro. He's a
making
guard.
$16 million a year.
And
That's
clearly-
actually
and
not as
clearly
much
that
as I
wasn't
thought he was
enough.
making.
And clearly that wasn't enough for the Super Bowl.
Also,
But like what? It's not enough. Oh, we gotta trade him. Like, really? No, you go and add more on top of that.
it's a very weird direction to go, isn't
And
it?
they're still going to find themselves in the Super Bowl anyway.
True.
Yeah, it's the Chiefs.
So if we look at the big trades, free agent moves so far, one team that everyone is looking out for is in Washington, not the Commanders, but in Seattle.
Washington State.
In Washington State, as the Seattle Seahawks are a mess. And before we
Okay,
talk
well,
about
we have the
DK
Jets
Metcalf, we have to talk about Tyler Lockett.
Yep.
Tyler Lockett got cut by Seattle. That made me shed a tear a couple days ago when that happened, because I love Tyler Lockett. He's been with Seattle for like forever. And you hate seeing a guy who's been on a team that long like that get cut. And Tyler Lockett, who's arguably one of the best receivers in the history of that team, like he was there for God knows how long. He was there for like an eternity. Scarred some of our teams, some more than others. Thanks, Tyler Lockett. But he was a guy who really was a threat in all levels at the wide receiver position. And he was great. But unfortunately, due to the cap and his cap hit, he did get cut by Seattle, which leads the domino effect to DK Metcalf.
He could get traded, apparently.
Why?
There's always one receiver.
I thought
every
this year was going
offseason.
to be Garrett Wilson. It looked, all signs were screaming towards Garrett Wilson demanding a trade, which he still could. And I hope he doesn't, because I love Garrett Wilson.
He's going to find himself on the
DK
Eagles.
Metcalf?
He's going to find himself on the Eagles before you know it.
No, he's the guy the Broncos should trade for.
Garrett Wilson or DK Metcalf?
Either of them. Think about it. Think about it.
Young quarterback.
Young
coming off
quarterback with a big arm who needs a top receiver who's tall and can run.
DK Metcalf.
DK Metcalf, Denver Broncos.
Yeah, it's a perfect fit.
There you go. It's just
Do you believe it?
It's
Believe
like
it.
with Washington. Same situation. They have one receiver who's not as tall, but why not get one decently good receiver, and Terry McLaurin, who's decent at the low end of him, with another one? Granted, the cap hit is atrocious for Deebo Samuel, but that's what the idea that teams are going for. I think it's a perfect fit for DK Metcalf if the price goes down for him to go to the Denver Broncos instead of Garrett Wilson. Because I think DK Metcalf will get less. This is a weird take. DK will get less money than G-Dub. I'm convinced by that.
Apparently, he's looking for $30 million.
That's actually kind of reasonable for what he brings. He brings size. He brings the deep ball threat. He does everything that a number one receiver needs to do. If Denver has the cap space, I would not be surprised if DK Metcalf finds a way to go to the Broncos. And I think,
Shatter.
who agreed with me?
Thomas Miller shows.
Thomas Miller
100%
show, shout
agree with
out.
The Metcalf going to Denver.
Yeah, it's a perfect fit, no?
It is a good fit. It is a really.
It's
good
a
fit.
very weird possible fit because I never would imagine DK Metcalf going to the Broncos ever before like 2 days ago or whenever that trade rumor was announced. But I think Denver, if the price goes down, I think that's the perfect fit.
Yes.
I mean, if they have cap space and they could find a way to free up the money, that's a perfect team to go for it. But there's multiple other teams that can make moves this offseason that could drastically change the future of their franchise. And we mentioned one of them,
This is where you tell us what those teams are.
and that team is Washington. I wanted to talk about the other Washington. They traded for Deebo Samuel very recently.
Yep.
You're the Giants fan. We've talked about Deebo a lot on this show over the last 6 months.
We have
A little bit more than you thought. We did talk about Deebo.
Apparently.
Oh, yeah, because the last time we talked about him was back in December when he did absolutely nothing. And then we talked about him a little bit of more. But Deebo Samuel, very interesting player to go to Washington. And if you look at the cap situation, Washington might be onto something here.
Dude, they are.
Because if you look at the cap space,
that
it's still
team's going to
64
be
million. They could still sign a ton of quality players. They're a team to definitely watch out for this offseason, no, Cam?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That team is a giant. They're freakishly good. They're going to be good for a while.
Thank you, Thomas, for the show. With the chat.
Who else wrote it?
Even again, listening from Long Beach, CA, great sports.
Long Beach,
dot-
California.
Wow.
Shout out. Long
Wow.
Beach, Cal to New Rochelle, New York.
How did you
Jeez.
find this?
That's
How?
a great question.
What did the YouTube algorithm throw at you?
Hey, we'll take it. Shout
we'll
out to
take it,
him.
We'll take it, yo.
But
Yo, stick around.
stick around every Thursday from 12 to 1, excluding school breaks throughout the rest of this semester. But we continue with Washington. With Deebo Samuel being acquired, what other position? Because we know that Washington were rumored to move a couple defensive players. Do we see them going for a guy like DJ Reed? How's that fit with Washington?
I could see them going for literally anybody. I could see them being deep in the market for an offensive guard or offensive lineman.
Should have traded for Trey Smith when you had the chance. Or whoever, Joe Thunig. Trey Smith is available, by the way.
He got franchise tags, or maybe
Oh, he
they're
got
gonna
tagged?
Yeah, he got tagged.
Where have I been this week? Apparently, not remembering that Trey Smith got tagged. That's right. I mean, we could talk about more franchise tag players in a minute, but like a player like Trey Smith, that's what I was going for. Who could be a player that Washington could go for because they need to improve their offensive line. We saw how much they got destroyed by the Philadelphia Eagles defensive front. That's something that they could definitely go for. No, Kim?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Offensive line.
That's
No doubt.
Sounds like a perfect fit for them. But well, now we'll segue it to you two, being the Giants people in the room. The Giants failed to trade for Matt Stafford as he was, I believe, extended by
Yeah.
whatever restructured.
Yeah.
JJ, help us out. What happened with Matt Stafford? I know you're in chat, so you can help us out.
I mean,
He got extended, right? Was it a 1-year extension?
Yeah, he's sticking around.
He's sticking around. That's all we need to know. Matt Stafford sticking around. Who is the quarterback now for the Giants?
Honestly,
It's not
I'm
Stafford,
looking
which
at,
wouldn't make any sense to begin with.
I mean, the big point right now in terms of the veterans is Rodgers. There's
That would be
also
very
been a lot
Shocking
more.
in it.
There's also been a lot of stuff about the Giants trading up to number 1 to take Cam Ward. Which
That doesn't make
I
sense.
would no, doesn't make sense, dude. What?
Because
They wouldn't
Tennessee's
have to
not
go-
drafting a quarterback.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
and the Giants were gonna totally get Matt Stafford.
No, the Titans, I thought were going to stick with Levis another year and then draft Carter to actually form a defense.
Well, if the Giants, if they make a trade with the Giants, they're getting at least one of Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter.
Yeah. That's a perfect thing for Tennessee.
Yeah, and I assume, like
'Cause
from
Levis
what I
has
heard,
talent.
from
but-
what I heard, it wouldn't cost them much. It would maybe just be a couple of like a 3rd round pick this year and next year. Like I'm down to do that.
I mean, with the way some teams have cap space, I mean, you talk about a team like the Rams, they have the money, but I thought the Raiders were sure to get him. The Raiders have $95 million in cap space.
Yeah, but who wants to go to the Raiders?
Someone who's going to get overpaid. I'm looking at, I was going to look at T. Higgins, but he already got franchise tag.
Like the Dodgers did to the Mets, the Rams used a desperate Giants team for leverage.
Fair, honestly, fair. Good point, JJ. Shout out JJ in the chat. Make sure to subscribe. But, I mean, it's a weird question, right? Because The Giants and the Raiders are kind of in the same boat. They need a quarterback. They have some talent on their team, some more than others, depending on what side of the ball you're looking at. The Raiders having some good pieces on offense, Brock Bowers being one of them. They extended Matt Crosby yesterday to the highest non-quarterback contract ever. 3 years at like 90-something million. Like the Raiders are like, they are able to sign some of their core. I mean, they have a need at the quarterback position. Why wouldn't they go out there? And I think the Raiders would be the team to trade up to the number one.
I think maybe the Raiders are going to go out and get Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold on the Raiders. Oh, God.
Well, hear me out.
Hear him out.
They go out to Aaron Rodgers and get back Devontae Adams.
Oh,
my God.
that's such a Raiders move.
Oh,
Yes.
dude.
Yes.
Really?
I love it.
Oh, God.
The Raiders. That's a-
because you know the Raiders will give Aaron Rodgers carte blanche.
He's gonna take orders from Tom Brady.
Taking orders from Tom Brady is crazy. The Raiders, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, but if we look at the teams with the most cap space, the Chargers, we mentioned the Chargers, they're third in cap space. It's two teams that, no offense to anyone, that suck. It's the Patriots and the Raiders. Then the Chargers, Cardinals, and the Washington Commanders are fifth in cap space. Washington, this is your chance. Please don't blow it. I want them to be good.
They do.
I want them to be good.
I
They have
hope
all
so,
the talent to
dude.
be good. Please sign offensive line and defensive linemen and DJ Reed. I know I don't want him to leave the Jets because the Jets are going to do nothing. They're going to completely bottle the offseason and then trade Garrett Wilson like June or something because that's just what we do. It feels like with the Jets, it goes back to the days when Joe Douglas started as GM when we traded Jamal Adams. And they just ripped out my heart and soul. Because I loved Jamal Adams. And I cried for a day when Jamal Adams got traded. Then again, you think about the trade package we got. We got 2 first-round picks for Jamal Adams. Great deal, though, in the end, because we got a lot of good players out of it.
And Jamal Adams became Blitz Boy.
I'm not saying who we got. I'm not mentioning names for who we got out of that trade, Garrett Wilson. But Garrett Wilson then getting traded to the Seahawks. That actually it all comes full circle possibly in the end. Who the hell knows? But real quick, Jets, I'm expecting them to do nothing. Who knows? Giants, more of the same for them. Like what do we think is the team that can make this splash move that we're not expecting? Is there a team that we could see make a splash move out of nowhere? Who knows?
Clueless again.
Who knows?
It's about teams we wouldn't see coming. So.
Rams. Yes, actually. That's a good shout. I think Dallas could be part of that list.
Oh, okay.
Because, okay, hear me out again. They freed up like $50 million in cap space 2 days ago. They have money, apparently.
Yes.
They could be pieces away. I don't know what they would sign, but the Dallas Cowboys being a shout makes a lot of sense to me because they're shockingly making an effort to go out and find a way to get cap space in order to revamp that roster into what I believe could be a fringe playoff contender.
They're going all in
for someone. I'm just saying they could do something. I'm not saying that they're going to actually say, yes, we're going to put our foot down and we're going to sign Javon Hargrave or whatever, whoever that defensive lineman was from San Francisco that could totally work for them or something. Who was I about to talk about?
I don't know.
It was some guy on San Francisco. Javon Hargrave, done. I'm not saying they should sign Javon Hargrave. I'm not saying that they should not sign I don't know, offensive linemen. I'm not saying that that's who they should go for. I'm saying they have an opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
Did I say his name wrong?
I think he just.
What did I say it as, Chet? It's Hargrave. It's Javon Hargrave. The Cowboys should sign Devontae Adams. That's such a Cowboys move if they sign Devontae Adams.
What, are they
Good
get Aaron
shout.
Rodgers next?
No, because they can't afford him. Thanks, Dak Prescott. I think Dallas has an opportunity. The question for them is going to be if they actually like take the move, the idea of a move with the horns and actually by the horns and actually go out and do something. They have an opportunity to be a team that could threaten Washington. They have an opportunity to do so. It's can they capitalize? What other teams do you guys think we should mention before we sign off for the day?
I don't really have anybody else. I've just been tunnel visioned on the Giants and everything with that. So,
Luke?
I really have nothing either. I'm tunnel vision on the NHL trade deadline.
NHL trade deadline is tomorrow. NFL free agency begins with tampering on Monday. And also, we almost forgot to mention it, the MAC tournament begins on Tuesday. We'll see where Iona
oof.
find out where they're going to be. Big games tonight in the MAC, big games on Saturday in the MAC. In a span of 72 hours, we could see if Iona could go from 4th in the conference to like 6th or 7th. Who knows how the MAC season will end? But unfortunately, that's where we will have to leave you guys today, as that is the end of another edition of Ball Knowers. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to WIUR Gales Radio, and make sure to follow the Mixler, WIUR Sports Radio Mixler. We'll have coverage for you of Iona and Sacred Heart beginning at 3:50 on Saturday. For Luke Dolan and Cam Woolley, I'm Robbie Basil saying so long. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys next time.
Go Gales.
Go Gales.
Go Gales.
Live from New York, this is WIUR Radio.